This is a Hot Pie Original.
Hi, and welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm so grateful you're here. How are you? Today, we're going to polish up that shine a little bit, get a little shinier, find some tactics around that. And I'm really stoked because that's my whole message. How can we up level? How can we shine brighter? That's what we're going to do today. I'm so here for it, and I'm stoked that you are too. So thank you. Thank you, Hot Pie Media. Let's do this. We've got a guest today in the house too, Satsang. I'm so excited. And yes, that's how you pronounce it. It's Drew McManus, aka Satsang. Stoked. Okay, our shine. We're going to get a little shinier today, or we're going to try anyway, or at least pay attention to it, which I think actually makes it shinier if we pay attention to it. Last week, we talked about intuition. We talked about going into that place where our light lives and our intuition lives, like in our stomach, that shine, that yellow solar plexus chakra. And I just want to take that a little bit further. It was really on my mind all week. I kept delving into that, and I kept just trying to pay attention to it, which, like I said, I think that's what it's about, right? So I started listening to a new book. I started listening to Badass Habits by Jen Sincero. I like her books, all right. You know, she has You Are a Badass at Money, and now she's got Badass Habits. And so I just started it. But one of the things that struck me is that she talks about old ways of being as habits, and negative things we do as habits. And I think that I have constantly leaned on to this other way of looking at it, like calling it ruminations or calling it shadow or patterns. Ooh, patterns. That's a big one. You know what those fucking are? Those are habits. And she didn't even mince words about it. And I was like, it hit in a way, you know, when you hear something and you get annoyed, that's what I did. I was on my walk last night because it's finally pretty here in Austin. And I was on my walk and I was like, fuck. And I didn't want to hear some of the stuff she was saying. And I was like, okay, well then clearly I need to hear it. But it really got me thinking about just the nature of habits in themselves, and that we have so many ingrained ways of being. I talked on the phone with a good friend earlier this week who I haven't talked to in quite some time. I haven't seen her in a while. And we've done some really powerful work together as activists in the past, and I love her to death. And so I'm not trying to say anything negative here. I just want to kind of show an example of how we can look at things. And she's extremely conscious of how other people in the world are living. And it's a beautiful thing, right? But I think it's almost a habit where perhaps she's looking at life through a certain lens. And I think that we can get that lens on fucking auto, right? Where it, like this camera that I'm looking in, or it automatically pops up to this filter and you're seeing it through this habit lens, if you will. Just take my analogy that I just made up a little further. And so anyway, I was trying to encourage her to maybe see things a little bit differently. But it's hard when it's you feel like it's realistic, you know, and you've got these quote unquote realistic things that you do on the reg. You know what? Those become habits. And maybe you're looking through a lens with a lack mindset and seeing the lack that everyone has. And it really made me think, what am I doing all the time that I am habitually doing? Because we are. We straight up are. So how can we shift those around? What do we do? One of the things we can do is get really regimented about it. That's an option. You know, I listed off 5 things a couple episodes ago that we can do. And I say, I encourage you to go easy on yourself, you know, just to do it more often than not and not get overly regimented, because then you can spiral into feeling bad about yourself if you don't get it done, which is dangerous. Drew, that we're going to talk to today, Satsang, he's so fucking amazing. I'm so excited to bring this today. And he really has transformed his life into being his shiniest version, and he keeps going with it and enjoying the process, which is that's where it's at. Anyway, he talks about what he does day to day, and it's regimented. And I get that. I like being regimented. I like habits. I eat the same fucking thing every single day, pretty much. And I love it. I'll share that some other time. Stephen Pressfield, I mentioned his books, The War of Art, Do the Work, Turning Pro. And The Artist Journey. That's one now. That's his latest one. But in those earlier ones, those three, that series, he talks a lot about getting really regimented with your work, like whatever it is you want to do. He's a writer, so he talks about it from a writing standpoint a lot. But whether you're an artist or whether you're creating anything or creating a business or even just being a better parent, being a better human, whatever it is that you're doing and you want to create and bring to the table, are you getting aligned with that and really making time for it, and not just fucking off? So that is an option, getting really regimented about it. And frankly, I think it's a pretty good option. It sounds hard, takes drive and willpower, doesn't it? But the one thing that it really does take too, and I think this, if we just don't even worry too much about the regimented part, get conscious of it. And that's what I want to encourage you to do today. Like, how conscious are we of these habits? Because in my own life, listening to that book and realizing that I have habits, not patterns, like habits, real things that I'm doing habitually, it's a little bit of a wake-up call. Like, I spend more than I should. I don't love the word should, but if I'm being really real about it, I've never adhered strictly to a budget. And I really am at a point in my life where I got to learn that. And I got to learn some hard truths about money. And hard truths, easy truths, shit, I don't know. Truths, or are there truths about money? Does it just flow? I don't know. I'm learning. We'll do an episode on money soon. But I think that there are habits that we have that we're not conscious of. And maybe we're calling them our shadow. And maybe we're calling them ingrained or ways of being or the pattern thing that I said. Those are all fucking cop-outs, I'm starting to think. Shadow's different, right? I'll say that for sure. I mean, there's darker things and traumas that can come up, but those might feed habits. Those might feed that auto lens. Those might feed things that we're doing on autopilot. So can we become really conscious of what we're doing, really conscious, take a step outside of ourselves and recognize that we're beating ourselves up, recognize that we're feeding ourselves, things we shouldn't feed ourselves. I'm using that word should again. I don't want to use that. Feeding ourselves things that don't serve us, right? Feeding things, the news. What are we feeding our brains? I took a total break from the news. I got conscious of it. I realized that it was making me angry and it was activating like chemicals in my brain, like stress chemicals that I was becoming addicted to. Joe Dispenza, I know I talk about Joe Dispenza all the time, but in Becoming Supernatural, he lays all the science out about that and about these chemicals of stress that we literally become addicted to in our brains. And so is that a habit? I just want to call it out. Like, call it out. Do you need to keep a log of what you do every day? That'd be fucking a long log, wouldn't it? I don't even know if that's possible, but I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe like even just writing it down on the fly as you can. Maybe it's going to help you become more conscious and develop a habit of becoming more conscious of your habits. Just to get really meta with it. Can we develop a habit of becoming more conscious about all these unconscious and habity things that we do? That's my message for today. That's how I think we can shine brighter. And like, to just go back to the intuition thing that we were talking about with our solar plexus and last week's with Caitlin, which is so good. If you haven't listened to it, it's so good. And in my intro, I was talking about doing that work around my solar plexus chakra, and that's where our intuition lives, and that's where our light lives. And I just have had to break some patterns. Break some habits. See, I've got a habit of saying patterns. I had to break that habit of ignoring that space and break that habit of just being lazy around it, really. I was just doing other things and acting too busy for it or for meditation, like where a lot of times we get too busy for that or whatever. And that's a habit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm encouraging you to really take a look at the things that you're automatically doing or habit doing, even if it's looking at life through a lens that maybe you could change. Or, as we talk about today, maybe you could do an experiment of changing it. I think that's pretty cool. I actually suggested that to my friend too. I was like, I've been looking at things as experiments and I've just been going, okay, well, that didn't serve me that well. So what if just for this limited time, I do this? Let's just see what happens. And Drew talks about that today. He talks about doing that with his own life and his music. And it's really cool to hear. And on that note, let's move into our interview portion of the show. And I'm so stoked to welcome Drew McManus, also known as Satsang. And yes, that's how you pronounce it. I asked him. So now you know. And he is a phenomenal artist and human being. And I'm really excited to just go a little bit deeper on how he's transformed his life and how he is an expert in finding that shine. And remember that you can find him at Satsang Movement, SATSANG movement.com, or just go to his Instagram. It's at Satsang, SATSANG. So let's get to the interview. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Just, take the next step, one step in front of the other. Don't get overwhelmed with everything. And stick around to the end. I always like to do a little wrap up at the end also. Oh, and before I go, we're going to have like some interim episode content, which I'm so stoked about. He stuck around after our interview and recorded the song I Am, played it for us, and we got deeper in that song. And Justin Wren joined us for a little while, and it's just a short episode, but it's really, really beautiful. So, and the song, oh my gosh, to hear him play it is just so incredible. So stick around for that and join me after. And now, welcome to the interview. I light a little Palo Santo and set the intention at the beginning. Yeah,
it's
right?
a good vibe.
Well, I feel like I'm rushing around a lot. I know you do too, touring, traveling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a weird adjustment just the past 48 hours of oh man, I'm not in the mountains anymore. There's cars and cement everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because this is just the beginning of your tour, right?
Well, I'm only gone for about a week.
Okay.
But I've been home.
Yeah.
For a minute.
Let's get you cleansed a little bit. And
I forget the real world is happening all the time.
Well, everybody did during the pandemic, I think. And there's good and bad in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you wrote a whole new album that spoke to you in a whole new way.
Yeah. Greatest thing I've ever made for sure.
Oh, and that's the way it should be. We should be growing into things that we feel like are the best we've ever made.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Because I know it's a leap for you too with some of the past stuff that you've done. And
it's a huge leap.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I'm thrilled that you're here today. I was kind of delving into, I like to think about what someone is really an expert in.
Sure.
And I was thinking about you and I was really moved. I watched your Instagram live about the adaptive training center that you went to the other day. And you can tell a little bit about what that is. And because I want to get into it. And I know your wife specializes in trauma therapy too, and things like that. And so there's a lot of not allowing yourself to be anything but your best self. And I felt like today the angle was a little bit about really staying true to your shine and shining as bright as possible and not allowing that. And so I got a little choked up because I was thinking about your message with that adaptive training center. And maybe anybody who didn't watch your Instagram live, which is probably a lot of people. So maybe you can talk some about what you saw there and just how that affected you. And then we can just go a little bit deeper because one last thing before we start that, one of the quotes that really spoke to me on your website and on your bio is you said, when you're dealt a tough hand, you can either get bitter or you can get better.
Yep.
And you can blame your upbringing for everything and complain about what happened to you, or you can choose to believe that everything happened for you to step into your power and become the person you want to be. And
I got to give my dad credit for the bitter or better. He worked for a long time in rehab facilities and he would always say that to people. because most people that, a good chunk of people that wind up in rehab have rough stories, that's how they ended up there.
You've been through rehab?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yep. About 11 years ago, 12 years ago. Can I curse? Because I curse.
You sure can.
Okay, cool.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, the adaptive training facility was a trip. A man named Mo reached out and told me what they did and was like, man, we'd love it. We'd love it if you would come by and do a workout. We play your stuff in here for the guys all the time. And what's really cool is it's veterans, and even some non-veterans. Like one of the gentlemen that we saw there was a quadriplegic that was told he would never walk again and would never get out of his chair. And I watched him crawl 30 yards.
Wow.
Yep. That was 3 months ago. They told him he'd never walk again.
I mean, no excuses. That
None.
just,
man, I was doing there's a Navy SEAL there that was missing both of his legs. And I was at the end of my workout and I was doing this sled push and then pull. And my quads were on fire. And I was about like, man, my quads are going to give out.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought like, you lucky son of a bitch. To
you have
quads.
fucking quads.
Yep. And this guy's over there benching 400 damn pounds without any legs and doing muscle ups. And,
it just gives you a totally different perspective.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy, especially in the modern world, where we're kind of always berated with this negativity. The news really thrives on the negative news cycle. Mm-hmm. So it kind of drowns out that there's people like Mo and David that are doing this amazing work 7 days a week, 365. This is what they do. They're saving people's lives, helping people's lives, injecting people with hope. And we don't hear about these dudes and they're just doing the shit. So that was a huge takeaway for me of just like, damn. And this isn't the only facility like this in the country. This is happening everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And then also, I'm a big no excuses guy. I don't usually feel like training.
I don't ever. And I did today. And I'm just like, but I was thinking about your message and I was thinking about this. And I was like, I need to seize upon, this, what I'm blessed with in this moment.
Yeah.
And they're
Yep.
like, I may not have two legs, but I can still move my arms.
Yep.
I can still.
Yeah. So it's just that perspective thing of, there's always somebody that has it worse.
Mm-hmm.
There's always somebody that has it worse. And I just really, as cliche as it is, if there's a will, there's a way. And I have a laundry list of injuries and stuff, but I'm a relatively healthy, able-bodied guy. And it was just so inspiring. I mean, I just couldn't imagine being told that I'd never be able to walk again.
Yeah.
And just being like, well, shit, man, you're a doctor. So I'll take you at your word. You're a spine surgeon, so you know more about this than me. Mm-hmm. And then you just go see these bad motherfuckers that are just like, nah, dog, we'll get you walking again.
Wow.
Like,
yes.
What? Like, man, fuck your doctor. We'll get you walking again.
Yes.
And to see the way these trainers huddle around people and push people. And they have a saying there's no sympathy here, just encouragement. Mm-hmm. Because everybody here's got a shit deal.
Wow.
And the way sometimes you'd see 4 trainers on one guy because they knew he needed it, and it just blew me away.
Yeah. Cause I heard one of the things you said in your Instagram live was, one of the guys yelled out, "There's nobody special here."
Yeah. So I'm doing my last sled pull and this big dude, probably every bit of 350. Mm-hmm. He jumps on the sled and I kind of look up at him like, funny dude.
Oh shit.
Like I thought he was fucking with me. And then he just started yelling at me. "There's nobody special here, Rockstar. Get that shit moving." And I was just like, all right, and then I turned around and was like, all right. And he gets back on the sled. He's like, "Let's go." I was like, well, shit. All right, let's go then, Yeah. And then after we were like sitting in this circle talking with each other, and he comes and puts his hand on the back of my neck. It's like, "Good work, dude."
Yeah.
And it's just like the vibe and energy in that place was just like, it was a collective. There's no individuals there. It was like you walk through these doors and now you're in this collective
I'm a huge believer in collective energy. I mean, that's a thing, collective meditation, whatever it is. I do Instagram meditations every week, and I'm just like, you know what? Every little bit helps. If some people are coming together, it's going to elevate that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm interested in that no sympathy, only encouragement, because like I get down sometimes, and like sometimes it's kind of annoying, the encouragement, right?
Yep. Yeah.
What do you do when you get down, I guess, is maybe a good question.
Say shut the fuck up and get her moving. I had a pretty hard upbringing.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that, because I only know that you had some abuse as a child.
Yeah, a lot of it, pretty daily. But what I really got from that is, I'm traveling and hearing people's stories all the time, and though I had a hard story, again, someone always had it worse, and I'm a big believer that adversity comes to us as a teacher. So like in Greek mythology, that you would never say, back in those times, you'd never say, I'm sad. You'd say, sadness came to visit me today, right? It was like this,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's this cool thing. My wife taught me this. Or it was like this passing thing. Which
it is. It's a cloud.
Yes.
Ram Dass says that.
Grief
it's
came
going
and
to
visit today.
Wow.
So I think of that same shit when I'm going through shit of just like, oh man, this isn't even a thing.
It's not. Well, I was just listening to something. They were saying like your feelings are just your feelings. Like they're just, and they're like the clouds that are going to blow over. And
it's hard not to identify with that shit when it comes in though, and be like, no, this is real.
Real hard. It feels very real.
Yeah. And it's hard because I'm learning to soften. I'm a pretty hard guy. And I'm learning to, and I know it's not really present in the music, but I'm a special, different person when I'm writing songs. It's not who I am most of the time. It's this very special time when I'm writing. I don't know what it is. I just sit and
it's like comes. A muse thing?
No, that's exactly how I look at it. I've said this in a lot of interviews and stuff, but it's so true. Severe poverty. I did multiple winters in Chicago as a young adult without heat.
Dude.
I never had any goddamn way out. And this muse, this creativity thing that flows through me gave me my way. It escorted me into abundance. And so I've kind of made this deal with it that when she shows up or calls, that I'll pick up the phone. It doesn't matter how inconvenient the time is. If I have to pull over the damn car, or when I wrote All Right Now, I had just come home from a 5-week tour, got all my shit inside. I'm sitting there cuddling on the couch with my wife for maybe 30 seconds. I'm like, shit, I'll be right back. She's like, what? I'm like, it just started playing. I gotta like, it's here. And so I answer it. But for the most part, when I'm not in that special musy space, I'm a very regimented, disciplined guy because I feel like I have to be. I
want to know about your regimentedness.
Well, so I wake up every morning at 5:45, take my supplements, go to the bathroom, and then I get to the gym by 6:15.
Damn.
If I'm slacking, I'm there by 6:15, and then I get home by 7:30, make a shake. Usually our baby's up by then, and I'll try to help my wife get him situated. And then I'll take our daughter to school. Then come back, finish getting the boy ready. He only goes to daycare for a couple hours twice a week. And on those days I'm not, I take Chloe to school, I get home, and then boom, dad for the rest of the day. So that me time in the gym, that's my window is before everyone else is awake. So that's my window. So that's when I go. And I schedule all my conference calls and all that shit during his nap time or on the days that he goes to daycare. So I don't really chill until later in the evening,
Yeah.
But our house is a pretty well-oiled machine. My son won't let me put him to bed. Mom has to do it.
I mean, kind of with kids, you have to be. I mean, if you're not running a well-oiled machine, the kids are running the fucking house.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at least in my experience.
Yep.
So,
it's real.
I'm there with you on that. So people who don't have kids, I'm like, oh, yeah, you can go do all this, whatever. I'm like, no.
Yeah, but I love, something that I've always had that I think a lot of artists don't have. A lot of artists are kind of these floaty personalities, right? Not type A, and I'm really type A, and it's served the business side really well, and it serves the creativity well because that's the only thing that's allowed to interrupt the schedule is the muse, so I love the grind. I love not being super famous and being like, no, I'm still in this build and I'll be in this build forever. I love doing the next thing. I love being on conference calls. I love the shit. I'm in love with the process, you know,
that's what it's all about though.
I know it. And I feel like that for, the first few years, I was always, what's next? What's next? What's next? And while I still have that mentality because I'm trying to build a thing.
Sure.
It's working on being present during the building rather than always, okay, well, what are we doing next year? What's 2 years from now? Where it's just like, well, let's knock this out and then we'll knock this section out. But it's being present for this section. You know?
Oh, that's precisely why I like this. Like, I feel like I've lived in that mentality so much in the past, either with music or with podcasting or whatever I'm doing. And I'm like, not this time. Not this time. No, I've done too much work on myself. I'm going to actually enjoy the process. I'm going to actually be present for it. I'm going to actually just live it because that's what we're preaching anyway.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That workout got me today.
Yeah.
I cannot breathe. And that's what we're here for. And that's the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm really glad to hear you say that. And I think regimentation, if that's the word, pays off. Do you read Stephen Pressfield?
Never heard of him.
No. He wrote The War of Art and then the sequel. It's a super easy short read. Like one chapter is like a paragraph. It's great. And so that's my style. And, and so anyway, he just talks about, you know, he even goes further and says you can schedule the muse. And he talks a lot about when the muse comes, but you go ahead and know you're calling that muse in at 9 a.m. when you sit down your computer to write. Like you go and you do it. And I think that's a really cool thing because a lot of people would take either your version of the muse and say, oh, but I just got home. I'm tired. It'll come back, you know, and push it away a bit. Or they would perhaps not adhere to the actual scheduling of it. Yeah. Which is fascinating. So, you know, you got to figure it out one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, what's tricky with it and kind of funny with it in my line of work with music is that it's like, man, I've been laying in bed before and had a beautiful song in my head and been like, oh man, there's the verse, there's the chorus. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I know where this is going. And then I wake up and that sumbitch is gone. So, and you never know what thing that comes through could potentially completely change your life or a shitload of other people's lives. You know, I Am is by far our biggest song, and it wasn't particularly special to me. I didn't record it and go, wow.
Really? You didn't get the chills?
No, not at all. I was like, I wasn't even certain that I'd put it on that record. I was just like, you know, Carl was like, no, man, this is a great tune. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, it'll be a good filler. It's kind of slow. It'll be a good like track 7, you know, like we'll throw it somewhere in the middle to take up 4 minutes of the record. But that's the thing is it's like, that's what's so special, I think, about music is usually the songs that I'm like, whoa, man, this is the shit. Everyone's going to love this is the like, meh. You know,
yeah, it's good.
It's funny that, the songs that people seem to really gravitate to are the ones where I was like, oh man, I didn't think that one was very special. So that's good, you know? So yeah, when that thing comes, that's why I've just am like rugged with it where I'm just like, doesn't matter how inconvenient, you know, this shit might change our lives, you know, like this might change the trajectory of my family if I write the right thing, you know? So. But
that's a level of regimentation too, really. I mean, even though you're flowing with it, that's recognizing that calls and you abide. Yeah. Right. You abide to it. And you know, I love that message for people that our shine can be something we really just adhere to and pay attention to. And, you know, you've transformed your entire life.
Still am.
And you even just moving to Montana, I think, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, so
stepping into something different.
Well, I was in Chicago and just partying, you know, we had just been partying for years. And
that sounds like a lot of partying.
Yeah. I mean, it just was, I had a really cush job where I worked 1 to 9 and it was at this like punk rock clothing store that was also a tattoo shop. So I didn't have to be to work till 1.
Sounds fun.
Me and all the boys, everyone I worked with was my best friend. We get off at 9. My sister was the bartender at the bar across the street. So it was just 7 days a week. And, and then on days off, day drinking. And it just got to a place where we all knew we had drinking problems and drug problems. But it got to this weird place where everyone was kind of starting to get their shit together. They meet a girl, settle down.
The settle down thing.
And all of these things would kind of happen to me, but I would never settle down. We got to a place where I realized I was a bit different than everybody else and there wasn't really a party for me anymore. It was more of a maintenance. And so, yeah, my dad was running a rehab facility in Billings, Montana, which is where I was born. And a very quick thrown together intervention with a bunch of my friends and shit in Chicago. My mom bought the flight and I wasn't close with my parents at all. You leave tomorrow, dude. I was like, well, fuck. Okay. So I went and got out and stayed with my stepsister for a couple months on her couch. And my plan was to go back to Chicago, but
like, how did that feel? Did you want to do it?
I knew it was time.
Yeah.
It was this thing where I was running out of everything. I knew I was running on fumes. I was running out of friends. I was running out of people that would put up with my shit.
Yeah.
I was just running out of things. And I knew that the end was coming. The few months leading up to it, I knew we were close.
Close in what way? Did you think you might die?
Yeah, for sure. Or just get to a place where it was like, okay, my drug and alcohol problems got to a place where no one's going to co-sign on it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm running out of people.
I'm going to be on my own with it. Oh.
And
that sounds dark.
It sucked. And then I cut my wrist open that night, and I don't think I wanted to kill myself. I just think it was this subconscious thing of like, help, fuck, help me.
What'd you use?
A ceramic knife, and I didn't mean to go as deep as I did. I kind of did it in front of my sister just to be like, ugh. And then was like, oh shit. So then, she invited all these, some close friends over, and everyone's like, bro.
Yeah. Step back and take a look at yourself, kind of a thing. Right?
I think it's time. And it's hard to argue. I mean, the reason that the intervention is so important is because it's like, so you're going to look at all these people in the room that love and care about you, that are all saying the same thing. And you're like, nah, you guys are full of shit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it was time. And I went, and it didn't quite stick. I started drinking again soon after rehab, and I had some ups and downs with it. But I was working at a coffee shop and met this beautiful woman kept coming in. She was 9 years older than me, had 3 kids, was recently divorced, had a master's degree, and was working on her 500-hour inner yoga therapy certification. And I somehow...
She sounds like a total badass.
Yeah. And I somehow...
What's her name?
Summer. And I somehow made her fall in love with me. And so I followed her into the mountains. We left Billings, and it'll be 11 years this June. But she saved my life.
Wow.
And, and she was the huge push too I didn't play music for a while there, especially when I quit drinking. I really kind of struggled with it. I had put it down. I was rock climbing all the time and skiing. My life was playing outside. And I kind of started writing songs again, and she helped me get like this shitty little recording set up, and was just like, man, you give this a go. And then it just got real serious real quick. I went to Nepal, and when I was there, I really fell down the like, what are you doing with your life wormhole? And I came back and was like, all right, man, let's fucking go. I'm all in. Let's give it a go. And I just kept saying, I'm going to try as hard as I can for a year. If it doesn't look promising in a year, then I'll go back to the life that I was previously leading. And it was always a little bit better. And then I'd be like, all right, I'll give it another year. And then I was just hooked.
You know what? I'm kind of into that whole concept. I've been like pushing it with like my friends and stuff too. I just told it to another friend. I was like, just try and experiment just for a limited time.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't feel like then, yet you can be all in for that time. But then it's just sort of like, okay, I can take a step back and evaluate.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Did you feel like, it's just an experiment almost?
Yeah. I was like
I'll devote to it. I'm good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, because you have nothing to lose. And that's what's so funny. You know, my sister Brooke is the queen of that, where she's like, okay, well, maybe I want to be a yoga teacher. I'll try that shit out. Well, no, that's not really for me. Okay, I'm going to get really into cycling. Yeah, that was fun for a year. Okay, now I'm going to get into sewing. You know, she just always is bouncing around. She always gets on her own ass about it. And I'm like, but how many people are going to get to the end of their life and be like, have 18 things that they did for a year?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, you're just racking up.
Or regrets that they didn't try, you know?
That was it for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't real close with my grandfather, but he was a special guy. He was a hard ass cowboy whole life. And
where in Montana? In Montana?
In Montana, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was
That's
badass.
like Marlboro Man style. Like
he was that.
Straight up.
He was that. And you know, I got back from Nepal. My mom was in town and we went up to visit him. And I'm sitting with him and he goes, "You really went to the other side of the planet, huh?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why?" I said, I was
about to ask you why.
Yeah. I said, "I wanted to see the mountains." He said, that's crazy. I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Keep doing shit like that, man." And he said, "One day you're going to be sitting in a chair like me and that's all you got is your movie. It's the shit you did. That's all you think about is the shit you did." And he was just like, "Man, all I've ever done is cowboy. I've worked this ranch, and did some rodeoing. That's it. Those are my movies." And it really stuck with me.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, it really stuck with me. So I always have this
it's a song
thing when I always think about the chair, you know, and I'm like, I'm in this thing right now where I'm getting invited to do a lot of interesting shit that's kind of scary sometimes. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to say yes to everything. Cause even if I get invited to an ayahuasca ceremony with a bunch of like super interesting people and I shit my pants and it goes completely sideways.
You got an interesting
I got
movie.
the story, you know what I mean? And so I've just been saying yes a lot. And it feels good to be there and have a wife and family that supports me saying yes.
But that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I was like, why'd you even go to Nepal in the first place? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I went as a climber. I went as a dirtbag.
But you were already with Summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you already had, you know, the kids at home and all that. I mean, you had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to go to Nepal for a while.
Yeah, it was pretty serendipitous, but it was wild. You know, another big lesson I took away from it, you know, you're walking everywhere with everything on your back. Mm-hmm. And
I haven't been, but I've read about it. Yeah.
So you're in the mountains and you're carrying all of your shit on your back. It's hard. It's rough, you know, and you're on the lowest spots here at like 12,000 feet. And about day 3, I was like, fuck, what have I gotten myself into? And my buddy Pete that I went with, who's an older fella who had been going there since the 80s.
Well, that was a good,
one day he could see it. He could see it in me. Mm-hmm. And he just went, man, this trip is the walk. It's not all that's at the end is a monastery and a tea house every day. That's it. It's this. This is the trip. It's the walk. And I really took that away. There's no destination. It's the walk. Mm-hmm. That's the movie. It's our walk. It's not the destinations that we arrive to, because you get to the destination and you're just like, oh, cool, my house is a little bigger. Oh, cool, my truck's dope. You know, but that's not the shit. It's the acquisition of these things. That's the shit. That's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to Nepal as a climber. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going on this great spiritual quest. I went as a climber. There were these boulders in this village called Kanjoma that I had seen pictures of. I thought they'd be climbable. Go to the other side of the planet, spend 2 weeks to get to this little village. The boulders were shit. They were covered in grass. They weren't climbable. And we were doing this big clockwise, very Buddhist trip. Everyone usually goes up a valley and then back, and that's their trip, right? Oh, I'm going to go to Everest Base Camp and then back down. Mm-hmm. But we did this big circle, so we had to go over these passes. And the day we went over Renjo Pass, it was the most treacherous physical exertion of my life. But when you get close to the top, you hear this, and you get closer, and it's, you know, millions and millions of prayer flags of Sherpas that have crossed this path, and we have prayer flags up there, mm-hmm. and there's incense and all of these offerings up there. Well, when you get to the top, and we went on the most beautiful clear day ever, Everest, Lobuche, the tallest mountains in the world, staring you in the face. And I just recently, I'll show you the picture after the podcast. Okay. And I was sitting up there and was like, just frozen. And again, Pete comes over, he goes, "This is real, man. You're really here," you know? And I pulled my notebook out and I wrote what later became Thrill of It All. And it was on the walk down from that pass. I was like, so what are you going to do, man? You know, what's next? What are you going to do with your life? You're going to go home from Nepal, and then Nepal happened. It's in the past now. You can't stay here. So I was like, all right, it's music, man. I'm going all in on music. That's what I'm going to do. And I came home and that's what I did. And here we are 7 years later.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, like, you know, when you mentioned your sister and you going to Nepal and all that, it's just like one of the things that gets hung up is the saying yes part, you know, and like the fear around that.
Yeah.
What do you tell people when they look at you and they say, you know, how do you do it? Or whatever they say to you.
That I'm not special and that I get scared just like you.
I like that.
But I wink at it instead of run from it. Like, oh, well, there's something cool on the other side of you, I bet. Or, you know, or you wouldn't be scary.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny too. The morning
I like that.
The morning that I left for Nepal, my friend had given me these weed cookies. He's like, hey man, for your flight. So I woke up at 5 a.m. to catch this flight, and I eat this thing before we get to the airport, make it through security. And then I'm sitting at the gate and I'm like, haven't been that stoned since high school. And I was like, I don't think I can get on the plane. So I'm having this like inner dialogue. I'm sweating like crazy. And then I went. And then when we landed in Seattle, I was like, it's already begun. I was like straightened out by that time and was just like, well, shit, I'm going to the other side of the fucking world and I can't go home now. I've come too far. You know what I mean? I'm about to get on the connecting flight. And then, you get over there and everything is different. You're in a third world country and, it's just wild. But yeah, I mean, that's just it's like purposely seeking discomfort because I know what lies at the other end of it, and whether that's a workout, I know that if the harder the workout, the better it is for my body. You know what I mean? The
that comes with experience. I mean, and that Nepal trip was a big old experience that launches you into the other side of fear. And you're like, okay, well, I can handle this.
Yeah. And I was so homesick. I mean, there were parts of that trip where I was just like, fuck, if I could.
How long was it?
It was 5 weeks.
Damn.
And it was just like, I could call my wife once a week from the satellite phone. So there were times where I got really sick. I got a shower twice. There's all these things that we take for granted living in this country. No one over there is taking hot showers when you live up in the Himalaya. People washing their bodies in glacier melt and smiling while they do it.
Right.
And so it's just uncomfortable the whole time. You're sleeping on, these shittily made wood platforms that have like a blanket on it and you're in a sleeping bag. You're cold all the time. It was really uncomfortable the whole time. So there's so many times where I was like, man, I wish I could be home. And it was like, well, you're not home, motherfucker. You're in Nepal and you ain't going home.
Right.
So here you are, and just giving into that. And it was such a huge trip for me of this, like, well, going home isn't an option. So be here. That's it. That's your option. You can sit here and be home, or you can just be here.
Yeah.
And now I have all these mountains tattooed on my arms.
I like your tattoos.
Thank you. And
would you do it again?
would I go back to Nepal? Oh, and fucking tomorrow. Yeah. I'd go tomorrow.
That's good.
Yeah. I want to go back with my wife and and it would be such a trip to be where I'm at in my life now and go back and sit at those places that I sit and get to the top of that pass again and just be like, I'm just getting choked up just thinking about what that would be like to be sitting on Renjo Pass as the man I am right now compared to the boy I was that sat on it 7 years ago.
I wonder what new lessons you'd learn.
Man.
It's a weird thought, isn't it?
It
to
is.
think that you'd learn all new lessons because you probably would. Well, I tend to forget all my lessons all the time. And I'm like, oh, I needed to relearn that.
Yeah, well, the universe will send them back your way.
Oh, without a doubt on the reg.
Yep.
And I'm cool with that actually, because I need to remember. It's a practice. Everything's a practice.
Yep.
For me. Anyway.
Yep. Same.
Yeah. That's pretty cool that you'd go back. I wasn't sure what you were going to answer to that.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I can't wait to go back. I will go back. I don't know when, but I will.
I want to go, but then I'm like, oh God,
It's
I hear
rough.
the cold part, that part, like being cold all the time. I'm like, that one.
It's cold at night. It's all right during the day, but it gets chilly at night. But it's just, A, it's having the right gear, but B, you just have to go and, I thought I was in the best shape of my life, cardio shape. I was only 145 pounds. I was real skinny, but I had been surveying and hiking, and that was all I did. So I thought I was in shape. I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I wasn't in shape. And I came back looking like I'm sure you lost. Like I looked like I was dead.
Yeah, I'm sure you lost a lot of weight.
But yeah, I'd go back tomorrow. Yeah, 100%.
Those big risks, man.
Yeah, that's where the good shit's at.
That is where the good shit's at. And it scares me so much, but I love talking about that. That's where our shine comes brighter. That's where the magic happens, living in those risks and just saying yes.
I know. And I don't know what the magic piece is. Like when you talk about, what would you say to someone that says that?
I like what you said.
Yeah. Cause there's some,
damn, it was good.
There's some people that, just make the list of reasons why not to do something. And I don't know how to throttle somebody into, fuck, man, just say yes for a year.
Yeah. Just
say yes for a month. Shit, and
yeah. I mean, a week, it doesn't even matter. Just give it a shot for a little bit, see what happens. The thing that got me was when I finally went, you know what? I've tried all the other ways. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I've tried all the bullshit in my head and I've tried all the negative shit and the broken records. And I was like, that wasn't that great. And so I was like, what if I just try an experiment where my experiment this year is just to believe just real fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never really tried that. So what if?
Well, so are you familiar with a musician named Trevor Hall?
Yeah, of course.
So he's a dear friend of mine.
We mix that in with your stuff on the daily. Yes.
Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine. And it's so funny. He's given me so many like profound one-liners.
Really? He's just like stringing them out?
Yeah, and we connect in a really special way. We're very different dudes. He's really soft. I'm really hard, but we have some weird connection. I just love the shit out of him. And he's just always been there for me. And he said to me one time, when I was back in the phase that I was talking about, is what's next? What's next? Okay, where could it go wrong? And what can we do to mitigate all of this? And yada, yada. And he said to me, this is just a couple years ago, he goes, because I'd taken 6 months off. And we had to self-book all these shows because the agency that we were working with had dropped me. And I was like, what if nobody comes to these shows, man? That's it. We did these big tours. We come back. We don't sell our own tickets. That's like it. He's like, bro, what do you have to point to in your life that tells you this isn't going to work out? Beautiful wife? Check. Beautiful kids? Check. Talented? Check. Like, if you haven't caught on yet, dummy, the universe is on your team, dude. Like,
yeah.
Just keep doing the next right thing and it will keep happening. And it's like, doesn't mean it's not going to be hard and there's not going to be challenges, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, if your intention is not to hurt people, your intention is to, I really believe this. If my intention is to be a better person than I was yesterday, be a better husband, try to be a better father, I'm always working on just getting better at this life thing. The universe will always conspire with me and not against me.
Yeah.
And I'm living proof of it. And I believe it with all my heart. And like you were saying, I think just having that belief that like, no, man, because I'm not out here fucking people up. I'm not out here to make things bad. Right. I'm trying to make it good.
Trying to lift up messages that are making it better.
Yes. And I think it's so safe to believe that you're going to be great.
It's safe to believe.
Yeah.
That's profound right there.
Yeah. It's a safe bet. I'd bet on it.
It's safe to believe. I mean, a lot of people feel like, no, I'm being realistic. I'm being realistic. Like you're with the tickets.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm being
realistic. Hang on. Let me be realistic for a second. Kid grew up in a low income neighborhood.
Okay.
Raised by an abusive alcoholic.
Yeah.
Developed a drug and alcohol problem. Mm-hmm. Was homeless.
Right.
Here I am.
Right.
I had every excuse.
We're going to look at that and be realistic. He's going to be in jail.
Yeah. Brother went to prison. All my closest friends have spent time in federal prisons. On paper, I have every excuse in the world to be in prison or to have kept my drug problem or to be homeless. I have the story. The story fits.
The bitter, not better.
It's fucking right there.
Yep.
I could have taken it. That was my out. But I didn't, And again, there's nothing fucking special about me. I don't have anything. I got a badass wife that helped.
Well, not only that, I mean, like me, I don't have those. I was raised in nice parents, in Killeen, Texas, and had a pretty normal upbringing. I was not abused. I'm very blessed and lucky over that. And still my head gets in the way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because life is fucking weird, man. And it's, we're constantly berating ourselves with what are we fucking doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
And we get caught up in this mess between the long term and the short term and how to organize it all. And is this the right move? Is this the wrong move? Okay, I'm trying to work personal relationships in there, but shit, I also have to grow as an individual. So it's like, it's this whole mess of things.
Yeah.
And the missing component is finding that thing that makes you go, I'm fucking here for it, man. Whatever it is, I'm fucking here for it. For me, that's been mixed martial arts. For some people, it's
we
yoga.
didn't even talk about that. I meant to.
Yeah. So it's like, you just have to find these things that slow you down. Another great Trevor one-liner. My drummer had quit. My agency dropped me in the same week. I call him hysterically crying and he goes, dude, you need to go outside. It's important to remember a mountain is still a mountain. A river is still a river. We forget that the natural world's happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for us to, in the fucking static of all of the things, the life, to just go, it's okay. Everybody's on the ride, man. Everybody's on the fucking ride.
Yeah.
We're all trying to figure it out. I'm not special in this regard. We're all trying to figure it out,
Yes.
And usually the move is just doing the right thing. That's it. It's that simple. Do the next right thing and the shit will usually work out.
That's beautiful. And you know what? We're right at time. Perfect. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, we got a new record coming out in June.
Yes.
We actually are releasing a single with Trevor Hall next week. That's the next single from the record.
Congrats. How badass.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hear it.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. The song has kind of been like 4 or 5 years in the making too. So,
oh, wow. And then, I saw you have a date at Red Rocks coming up in June too. And I was like,
yeah, we'll see if that one goes. We're trying to figure out, I'm going to play at Red Rocks this summer. We're just trying to figure out which one. But the big thing is I decided to do an album release party in Montana in Red Lodge.
Nice.
It's the most beautiful place in the fucking country. Yellowstone Park's right there. There's camping, hiking, fishing. We were gonna we should do it here. We should do it here. I said, fuck that. We're going to do it here. Everyone can travel. We're going to make sure that the ticket, because there's no festivals happening this summer.
Right.
So we'll make the ticket $20 a night. So people can come camp. It could be super cost effective. I'm working with a bunch of local businesses to get anyone that comes discounts at their restaurants, hotels, all that. So I'm trying to throw a party in Montana this summer.
When's that going to be?
June 11th and 12th.
Oh, shit. That's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, man.
Because I know Justin's going to want to go.
Yeah.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. And you're not even leaving yet because we're going to do a little mini-sode focused on the song I Am in just a moment.
I'm so excited.
We're going to record that separate. So I encourage everyone to tune into that as well because it's going to be really powerful. And we're going to just delve into I Am. So thank you so much,
Thank
Drew.
you. Yeah, so good to meet you in person.
Yes, it's so good to meet you in person. I'm just so grateful for all your wisdom and everything that you shared today.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you. Huge thanks to Drew Satsang for being here today. I'm so grateful. And I mean, just these people that I've had the benefit and pleasure of connecting with and hearing from. And you too. I mean, how lucky are we? It's rad, right? So thank you to him. Remember that you can find him at satsangmovement.com or on Instagram at Satsang. And also, he was mentioning a lot of nature at the end. If you haven't checked out the episode that I did, I think it was number 5, maybe 4. What was it? 5. Thank you, Colton. It was number 5 with Tim Corcoran. So fucking good. And he just talks about the power of nature and what that can bring to us in our lives. So just want to put that out there. If you like these shows, please rate, review, subscribe, do the things that the podcasters ask. We ask for a reason because it really makes a difference. And I'm making this my life's work. So I'm just super fucking grateful if you can. Big time. And also reach out. You know what? I'm hoping to expand this into feedback as we grow. And if you've got something to say, or if you've got daily habits that you want to share and some ways that you shine and find your shine, I absolutely want to know. So write to me, amy@amyedwards.com. I would love to hear from you. Big thanks to our entire crew here at Hot Pie Media. I mean, I'm so grateful and they're just total badasses. So thanks. They pulled off not only this episode, but the interim content that will be episode, I guess, 9.5 or whatever we're going to call it. And is that right? Is that right? Yeah. I lose track of where we are. So definitely check that out and listen to his song, I Am, because it's such an incredible rendition. You're going to love it. You're going to have chills. You might cry in a good way. I promise. What else business-wise do I need to cover? I covered all the rate review, all that kind of stuff. Please do. And until we meet again, I'm just wishing you light, love, health, wealth, joy, bliss, all of it, all the good stuff. The more we live in that space, the more it's spreading out and shining all around us. And you are shiny. It's in you. Period. It is. It's in all of us. So let it shine, right? Give that fear a wink, just like he said. I loved that line today. So thank you to him. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to you. Much gratitude, peace, love, joy, all that good stuff. Till next time. Forgot to say sign up for my newsletter. Go to amyedwards.com and sign up because I'm actually doing one. Yay!
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home on the web at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.